Hello, everyone, and welcome to Evolve Yourself TV. I am Agni James, and today we will be doing a guided meditation because that's what we do, right? If the stream title says we're doing a guided meditation, we're doing a guided meditation. So, how is everyone doing tonight? Well, tonight, it's all relative, right? I live in Chicago, so it's 8:43 p.m. my time. Some of you are probably watching and it's like, 3 in the morning. Some of you are watching, it's like 7 a.m., right? If you're watching at 3 in the morning, I give you more props. It's good to be up that late or that early, I guess, watching. JT Farms is here. Beautiful. The show can start now. All right. JT Farms, how are you, lovely? How are you on this beautiful day? It's good to see you. You always have that purple, that pinkish purple color to your name that comes through in my chat, and I love it. How's life? How are the dogs? How you're doing great. You're doing great. Wonderful. That always makes me feel good when you're feeling good. Because yeah, you're someone who's important to me, right? I want the people around me who I care about and who I love, who I love, to feel good and to feel happy and to feel peaceful, because that's what they deserve. That's what we all deserve, all of us, myself included, right? But sometimes it's hard to remember that, right? That we're all worthy of perfect love, and that our essence is love, right? It's really it's a challenge. And there's barriers, right? There's obstacles and there's barriers that prevent us to experiencing that oneness and that joy and that love within us. But we have to overcome those obstacles. We have to surmount those barriers and break through, and then just really realize our own perfection. Our own beauty, our own greatness, I guess you could say. Yeah, we all deserve joy and love. It's just something that's not talk. I mean, it's not like you go to school, and and they're teaching you that, when you're like in eighth grade or something. It's not like, oh, I have like social studies and then I have a class that teaches me that I'm worthy of love, right? Like, why is there no curriculum that does that for like in pedagogical institutions, right? I've always felt that would be a pretty cool class. Like, you never know. Like in Russia, they used to. I don't know if it still is the case, but when we go to school, we learn like math, we learn like science, social studies. Russia had chess as one of their classes. That was part of their curriculum. It's like, oh, time to go to chess class. I gotta get there before the bell rings, right? And that's a cool thing, right? Chess enables you to think ahead and plan ahead, and you can make better decisions. And people who play chess, students that play chess get better grades. It's a good thing for you. But they should do something about joy and love, right? About peace, about that feeling that inner love, because that's what it's all about. If we can't feel that inner love within us, then we're pretty much just dead to the world, and then we're just kind of going along trying to do our best. But it's hard to break through, right? It's hard to break through and actually experience that. You say, why is it that we as humans don't already understand from birth that we are and we deserve love? I know, right? That's one of the great questions. I think, I mean, no one knows for certain, obviously, right? Because that's just part of the human condition, that uncertainty. But one could argue that it's simply because we're in this finite shell. These bodies are finite, right? And we're not able to see things as Kant would say, in the noumenal world, right? As things actually are in themselves. We're only able to see the phenomenal world, which is the world of sensory perception. So, basically, we have all this information, all this data feeding into us, right? And we can only take it in through our five senses. And then we process what we can and we filter out like 99.99999% of everything out there. And from that little bit of information that we have, we extrapolate and try to draw these wide sweeping conclusions about the nature of reality, about the nature of life, about when to pay our taxes, anything, right? Anything and everything. We try to draw these wide sweeping conclusions from this tiny subset of data, from this set of all data that exists. and that's crazy. That's like a recipe for disaster if you think about it, right? Because I mean, how are we going to understand that we are and that we are deserving of love, right? Just like you posed that question, right? It's tough, right? That's one of the toughest things, one of the toughest challenges as a human being to try to overcome, right? To realize your own internal love and your own internal peace. How do we block this shit out and embrace joy and love? Yeah, and you're asking your questions, Joy, are on point today. Your questions, JT Farms, you are on point. It's channel shaman. Maybe you know what, you bring to the channel just what you need. Just what the channel needs. You bring in the good energy, and then you're able to filter out all that negative energy, and you regulate. You keep things running smoothly. And these are great questions. How do we block that shit out and embrace joy and love? Easier said than done, right? There have been many attempts, right? I mean, if you look at all the religious doctrines that exist out there, and all the spiritual guides and gurus that have existed throughout the centuries. I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, some people say, some people, Jesus taught one thing, Buddha taught another. I mean, the philosophers, throughout human history have taught other things. I mean, cult leaders have taught other things. I mean, it's crazy. All the people that profess that they know how to actually unlock the love and the joy within ourselves, right, such that we can experience it, and bypass all the ego. My own thought is that ego has something to do with it. Oh, hey, P. Barrow, good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. I buffered the last 2 nights, Frozen. You'll try again. Yeah, I am so sorry with that. I really wish I could fix that problem once and for all. DJ, I'm working on it though. I'm working on it. Hello, it's good to see you, P. Barrow. Though it's grateful that you're here, and I hope Bonnie's doing better. This stream will be dedicated to Aunt Bonnie. I hope she feels happier and more peaceful and can come through this unscathed. DJ Krishan's, otherwise known as Imbalanced Physique, blessing that you're here, man. I'm so happy to see you. I hope all is well with you. Thank you so much for the host. Right now we're talking about love. About going in and feeling our own internal love and why it's so difficult to do that. Did it give you a shout out? I don't know if. Oh yeah, you know what? Because I only have you set up the shout out under imbalance. So let me just manually do this. Let me manually do the old shout out. Let's see, imbalanced physique. It's an underscore, right? Or now I can't remember. PHY QUE. Is it an underscore? Oh yeah, no underscore. No underscore. All right. Bam, bam. There we go. All right. That should be good. Imbalanced physique. I can spell today. All right. That's good. We're in good shape now. All right. Anyone who hasn't checked out Imbalanced Physique stream, definitely go check him out. He's an amazing dude, authentic, genuine, super nice guy. He does fitness and health streams here in the community. Wonderful human being, and he's just super real, and that's what we want here, And I always say that about him, and it's because it's the case, He's just gonna say it like it is, and he's not gonna try to sugarcoat everything, right? And that's important. We need people, like when we're not feeling well, we need people to say that, We need people to express when they're not feeling well, right? Because otherwise, they just hold it all within, hold everything within. And when you hold in like pain and suffering, it's like that's a recipe for disaster, right? That's not a good peaceful way of being, and it's not a good way of existing. So yeah, we got a lot going on tonight. We're going to be doing some meditation. We're talking about love. How is it? How do we get to the place where we can actually feel like, okay, in meditation it can be done, right? Whenever I'm meditating, I can get to that place and I can feel that internal love, and I can feel my essence being as that love, right? And you can feel that oneness, and it feels so peaceful, and you can feel that joy and that bliss, right? But then you go out into the external world, and you got people yelling at you, and you have your boss threatening to fire you, and you have all these weird things going on. and it's tough. People want to pull you into these ego dynamics, and this is what I think is going on. My view is that from a state of oneness, from a state of monism. Monism is simply just like another word for oneness, right? But from a state of monism, everything is one, and we're all part of the same thing. And that which is part of the same thing, has to basically get along with itself, because it just is, right? It just is. But in this external world that we perceive, we see dualism, right? We live in a dualistic framework in which there's polarities, there's opposites, right? There's right and wrong, there's good and evil, right? There's all these different notions that have polarities to them, right? And when you have division and separation set up, and when it's embedded in the system, then it's really, really hard. It's very difficult to be in a state of perfect love and perfect oneness, right? Because you get caught up in those polarities. Am I being good enough? Am I worthy of love? Am I living my life in accordance to my in accordance with my virtues and the things that I value, right? In accordance with my values, right? So I think it's a lot of it's ego. So that's why when I do these meditations, I try to get people to go down underneath the level of ego, right? Because ego resides in consciousness, right? In the level of thought. So picture this: you have the level of thought, right? So I'm thinking about all these different things right now. I have all these thoughts racing through my head. That's where ego resides. It's the level of thought, right? But then that's not foundational. That's not our true essence. That's not our core being, right? So if you go down below the level of thought, if you can clear your mind, if you can take all the thoughts that are in your mind and just kind of say, goodbye thoughts, I'm gonna allow you to disappear into the abyss, right? Get out of here, thoughts. I don't want the thoughts clouding my vision, right? When you clear your mind, then you can go down and realize your true nature. And then once you realize that, hey, you know what? I remember now. I remember that my true nature is love. I remember that my true nature is peace and joy and bliss. And when you realize that, that's when the magic happens. Because then you feel connected. Because then all of a sudden you're like, why was I getting so frustrated with that? Why was I getting so upset with the way the world is, the external world, when that's not even real, when what's real is this perfect love that exists within my heart chakra, right? So when people have that realization through meditation, the idea is to be able to take that notion, that concept, and then go out into the external world and stay calm and peaceful and loving, because you realize that what you're seeing is a perceptual distortion, that this dualistic framework is simply an illusion. It's like a magician's sleight of hand put there by the ego mind to try to keep you stuck in it, right? Because the ego doesn't want you to feel oneness, because that would put its dualistic existence in jeopardy. I know this is getting very deep and very philosophical, but these are just the thoughts that I have. These are basically my metaphysics. JT Farms, you say ego is a mighty adversary. It may be a lifelong battle, but one moment of truth and love is worth a fight. Totally, and that's how I view it, right? Ego always likes to creep in. He likes to creep in and start posing thoughts like, oh, in the past you should have done this. One of its biggest tricks is to try to keep you either stuck in the past, right? So let's say you had a traumatic experience that you felt somewhere along the way, right? It tries to keep you stuck in that, by thinking about all the things you should or should not have done. And it also likes to try to keep you thinking in the future, such that you're thinking about all the things that you have to do, like planning thoughts, right? Like, oh, I need to run to the bank, then I need to do this. It does not want you to stay in the present moment. Because the minute you're in the present moment, you can release your thinking, you can release your thoughts, and you can go down into that place of oneness. But the ego will fight hand in hand. Oh, look who's here. Hyperdumb, what is up, brother? We got a new out of context clip at Why Agni Watches Reality TV. I want to check it out. Let's check out the new clip. Goodbye, thoughts. I'm gonna allow you to disappear into the abyss, right? Get out of here, thoughts. I don't want the thought. Goodbye. Yeah, right. That's what it's so funny, but it's true, right? It's totally true, and And that kind of is not that out of context, right? Clear those thoughts away. We don't need that quote unquote a reality TV. We need to like the actual reality TV, the reality of the oneness, of that monism, And when we feel that, when we embrace that love and that inner joy and that inner peace, it's like none of that other shit even matters. It's like you could have just gotten in a big fight with your boss, earlier in the day, and like you could be on the verge of getting fired. But when you come home and you meditate and like you clear your mind, and it's like that shit's not going to even intrude. It's not going to even be allowed in your system. You're just because you're going to go into that place of love, and when you're in that place of love, when you're living that love, then ego cannot penetrate. It cannot get in. It cannot cross the barrier. So that's what we try to do in meditation, and then we try to take that out into the external world and try to live, that way. But it's really tricky, right? Because the rest of the world, or 99.9% of the world, is stuck in that ego framework, right? It's stuck in that perceptual framework. Hyperdom, we were talking a little bit earlier about how, what do we have, to base our judgments and our conclusions on within this dualistic framework that, we reside in. What we have is basically a very tiny subset of data that's coming into our bodies, right? And then through our senses, we have 5 senses, and then from that subset, it's getting data is getting filtered out, right? The 99.999% of that data is getting filtered out, and then we just have this tiny little bit of data that we can actually process, and then we take from that tiny little bit of data, from that tiny subset of all of data that exists, that we actually have it within us. We extrapolate and we make these wide sweeping conclusions about the nature of reality and about life in general. And it's crazy. It's crazy how we do it, right? So it's just amazing. It's amazing that we're still alive, that we're still able to function and do the things we can do. But it's because of a lot of it's because of science, right? And because of rational, logical thinking. We have some tools that help us understand the dualistic framework in which we live in, right? Like science, right? But science, as Kant showed, will never be able to show us the true nature of things, right? What we can understand through science is the world, the external world that we live in, right? We can understand, how to build bridges and cure diseases, and we can make these great advances, which are good for us, and they help us, live in a more a better state of affairs, right? But we're never going to be able to actually access things as they are in themselves. That means things as they are if there was no perception, right? If perception did not exist, to be able to access the object directly, access what exists directly. We don't have that capacity to do so. Because of that time, we just have a tiny bit of data that we're processing, and we're finite beings. What more can you hope for? Just all you can hope for is to try to just go in and feel the true love in essence, which is the nature of reality, the fundamental nature of reality. Hyperdom, you say, oh, I know, I've been here like 10 minutes. Oh, you've already been here, man. All right. Yeah, you're always like lurking in the background, and then you come up with a clip, man. It's kind of cool though, right? Because if like if you're here and like chatting up a storm, I'm always thinking, Hyperdome's gonna clip that shit. He's gonna be what am I gonna say that's gonna clip that he's gonna clip? I'm not always thinking that, but sometimes, right? You do it in like a more stealthy manner. You're like a sneaky dude. You just come through and you're like, hey, check out this clip. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like I'm a little blurry today. Does my image look a little blurry? Maybe I need to like do some weird stuff like this. Did that work? I don't know if that worked or not. You can see my hand. Oh, by the way, here's a cool scar on my hand. Check out that scar. I don't know if you guys can see that, you girls and guys. That scar was a crazy. Ooh, I think the camera's worse now. Uh-oh. The camera is definitely worse. Let me try standing up and moving around a little bit. Let's see if we can adjust this camera. Yeah, it did just get blurrier. All right. Hold on, let's see if it can. Well, it was focused in on my hand, and now it's not. All right, now this is one of the, okay, this is a perfect example of the external world trying to like make it such that it's more difficult. I kind of like this blurry Agni though. It's like a new take on life, right? Come on, camera. What do I got to do here? What do I got to do here? Let me see if I can like do something in settings or something like that. Start record. You know what? I don't have a move. I don't have a move. It's like I'm a chess player and I don't even have a fucking move here. This is ridiculous. You got to take your shirt off to refocus. Yeah, right, JT Farms. That's going to be the next step, right? Like I've seen people do this kind of move before, right? And then they pull their hand back, and then things magically get better. Hyperdom, do you know anything about this? Maybe I'm just blurry in real life. Maybe it's not the equipment. There really is a dude zenning out in Illinois, all out of focus. Yeah, I could say that, right? That could be the gimmick of this stream, right? I could be like, I am blurring. I am zenning out. All my atoms are dispersing into the abyss, or wherever, right? I'm officially disappearing into nothingness. What is this blurriness? Hold on, let me try standing back here. This is a little bit different, right? What is the move? I don't know. I've never run into this problem before. That looks. No, I don't know if that looks better. Maybe if I get really close. Maybe if I put my face close. If I put my face, it seems like it's catching everything that's close pretty well, but not everything. Hey, Sunrise Reads is here. Hello. Good to see you, Sunrise Reads. A big shout out for Sunrise Reads. She is an awesome streamer here on Twitch in the fitness and health community. She's a wonderful person. Her and Hyperdom partner up every now. They've done it once at least, and they were talking. They were doing a book that they had both read or they had started reading, and it was pretty cool. Sunrise Reads streams are great. She does cooking. She does all sorts of stuff. I'm blurry right now. Sunrise Reads. Do you have any camera tricks? You have any camera tricks to fix the blur? I don't really. I'm not adept at these camera tricks. Let me like try doing a few things here. I'm not digging the blur though. I'm not digging it. Got the blurry stream going. Well, at some point, in life, you gotta deal with it. I'm afraid if I turn the camera off and turn it back on, it's gonna. I could try turning on the lights. Yeah, let me turn on the lights and see what happens. It's with that. I got that move. All right. Lights are on. I don't know. I think I look worse. Maybe the quality that you set your stream to be in. I'll Google. Yeah, it's just weird. No, this is even worse. I don't know this can't be. This can't be. Blurry stream. All right. Or yes, you know what? Maybe I could get all of you out there who are watching. I want you to all put on glasses. I think that will be like the way we deal with this, because this is beyond. This is a little ridiculous. But I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to hear what I have to say, right? It's not like people are sitting there super concerned about like my appearance on this channel, right? I guess this is going to be the blurry stream, right? Or you guys all need glasses. I want all of you to go get glasses right now. Put on glasses that will make me come into focus. We like to see you closely. Yeah, I mean, can you even see my shirt? I'm wearing this amazing shirt right now, and it's like all blurry. You can't even see it. All right, JT Farms, you say, Sunrise Reads, you're saying 3D glasses. Yeah, maybe that's it. Or maybe if I sit back a little bit. I feel like I just need to like do this kind of stuff a lot with my hand. Like bam, 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 bam. No, maybe move around a little bit back here. Hold on. Let me Google this. There's got to be a move. There's got to be a move. Hold on. Let me try to figure this out real quick. All right, here we go. How to, that's how to back focus my camera. Why is my camera out of focus? If your lens is constantly focusing in front or back of the intended point of focus, your lens needs to be recalibrated. Relax. Some cameras come in with a built-in process to recalibrate your lens. Uh, no, that's not. It's not working. Not. It's not. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help me. Oh, actually, there we go. There we go. Something happened. Something happened there. Do I look better to all of you now? Do I look like at least more in focus? I mean, I might not look better to all of you, but something definitely happened. Look at that. Apparently, I just needed to read about it. I just needed to put in the effort. I just needed to set the intention. Yeah, I'm looking like 100 years younger. You can even see my shirt now. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this amazing shirt, right? With compassion and all these great things in it. All right. Wow. Yeah. All right. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock. 10 years. I'm like 15 years younger. All right. We got a clip here. Meditation master freaks out. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's check it out. I don't know what's this is. This can't be. This can't be. Blurry straight. I don't know what. Joy, but you know why this is so funny? You know why this is so perfect? Because this is exactly the point that Joy was making at the beginning of the stream, that JT Farms was making at the beginning of the stream. Earlier in the stream, we were talking about how, in the external world, when things go wrong, like when your boss is yelling at you, it's hard to like maintain your cool and your focus and your peace of mind, right? And look what just happened. I just had a very minor thing happen, right? I just had my camera go a little bit out of focus, right? Not the end of the world. It's not like 50,000 children in Malaysia are getting slaughtered. I mean, it's like my camera's like basically like going a little out of focus. Like no fucking big deal, right? And like look at me, like I'm all up in arms, I'm like I'm making all these hand gestures and making all these hand movements, and I'm like getting up and turning on lights and doing all these weird things. Total nonsense, right? I was not feeling the perfect love and peace within me right then. I was feeling like not panic, but I was just kind of like pissed off. I'm like, dude, I got this camera. It's supposed to actually not make me look blurry. Why am I looking blurry, right? And then I lost all that inner peace and that inner joy that I've been cultivating, right? But yeah, so this is the exact issue, right? How is it that we can go into meditation and feel that love and joy, and then bring it out to the world and still maintain that state of peace when the world is burning down around us, right? All right, we got to go back. I know I missed some stuff in chat. Let's see. Sometimes you were saying, which app do I use to stream? Use your phone. Yeah, I don't use my phone to stream. I use OBS Studio. But then I also have like I like kind of Frankenstein it. I have like a combination of like Stream Elements and Streamlabs and like I have like bits and pieces coming from everywhere. And then you're saying maybe we already went through that. Maybe the quality, maybe glasses, yada yada, 3D glasses. All right, Magic, 10 years younger, 15. To be honest, I'm kind of reminded of Phil Collins' floating head in the video for In the Air Tonight. Dude, Phil Collins trips me out, man. I mean, he's a great musician, and Genesis and all that. Great, good stuff. There's some good, great work in there. For some reason, I just had that flashback to American Psycho. If any of you've seen that movie, there's like some funny lines in there about with Christian Bale talking about Phil Collins' work. But anyways. Phil Collins he's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. All right, what else? What else do we got here? JT Farms, you say Mystic World of the Spirits, right? You're the channel shaman. If anyone's gonna know, it's gonna be you, right? You're gonna be the one that's gonna feel that energy and feel that vibration, right? You gotta keep the thing going. The guides will fuck with us from time to time. Yeah, right. You never know what's going on. I mean, there could be some, like, I could have Loki sitting behind me, like, who's just, Loki's like the trickster, right? Like the prankster, the eternal trickster. He's like, like doing gags behind my back or something right now. He's like, I'm gonna get Agni out of focus here, right? You never know. We don't know what's going on. We're just trying to survive in this world. We're just trying to eat high quality food. We want lots of protein, low carbs, less sugar, and just work out and be healthy, happy human beings. We don't want we don't want our cameras going out of focus, and we don't want Loki fucking with us either. Sunrise reads, you say it's okay. Our emotions take over our rational brains. It's totally true, right? Our emotions do take over our rational brains, and it's crazy when they do. Check out who is here. We got Swiss. We got Swiss R is here. Let's give him a big shout out. Swiss R. Bam. Okay. I got you under both fitness underscore yoga and Swiss underscore R. Swiss R is an amazing streamer here on Twitch. He does these amazing, beautiful, picturesque travel scenes and scenic scenes. We actually rated him last night. I think it was like 6 a.m. or something in Switzerland. And he had the most beautiful stream going. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for that stream. It was actually really, really cool. And I love seeing where you're at, man. You're in I know I'm gonna mispronounce it, but it's called Lucrane or something like that. Lucrane, Switzerland, Lucrane. But that's just such a beautiful area. And then you went up on that mountain, and you have such an awesome place. So definitely check out Swiss R. You will not be disappointed, guaranteed. So yeah, it's great that you're here. It's great that you're here. All right. Where else were we at here? Sunrise reads, you say, as humans, we have the ability to hate just like we have the ability to love, and both are natural human emotions that exist for a reason. Okay, I agree with you in that they're both natural human emotions, right? As far as like, from an evolutionary standpoint, right? I would say they, from a I could give a diachronic explanation, right? I could say like, I like an evolutionary explanation, right? I could say, okay, well, we love or hate because it's evolutionarily advantageous to do so, right? But then you look at the reason. Well, whenever someone says something happens for a reason, I'm always very skeptical, and that's probably a lot of the philosophical training I've had. It's like, well, what does that mean? Exist for a reason, right? There could be like some trickster behind me, creating something, creating chaos. Loki could be hanging out by my side, creating chaos. That could be the reason. I don't know. That just got me thinking about causation. All right, let's take a quick tangent into the philosophy of causation. So causation is simply like, why does something happen? Well, because, X causes Y. That's why Y happened, right? It sounds simple enough, right? No one really had major issues with the notion of causation until David Hume came around in the 1800s. And Hume fucking turned the whole world upside down with causation, right? He left it such that we've been in a state of causal chain mess ever since he wrote about causation. Because some examples of causation are very straightforward, right? Like, let's say you're playing billiards, you're playing pool, right? And you hit the cue into the 8 ball, and the 8 ball goes into the corner pocket, and you win the game. Pretty straightforward example of causation, right? So you could say, what caused the 8 ball to go in the corner pocket? And you could say, well, the cue ball hitting the 8 ball into the corner pocket, right? So that's a pretty straightforward example of causation. But there's other examples of causation that are not nearly as straightforward, right? Like, let's say here's another example. Let's say you walk into your office, right? And you trip on the carpet, you fall, and you sprain your ankle, right? Okay, well then you might think, well, wait a minute, or you trip on a rug, that's bunched up, right? And you fall and you sprain your ankle, right? So then someone asks you, well, what happened to your ankle? How do you sprain your ankle? And you say, oh, well, I tripped on the rug that was bunched up, and that's what caused my ankle to be broken, right? And they're like, oh, okay. And then, but that's just one example, right? That's just one cause, right? You could look at, there's an infinite amount of causes, right, that actually played into that. Like, what about the janitor who was in your room who accidentally bunched up the rug before you got there, when he was vacuuming, or she was vacuuming, right? So if you look at it from that standpoint, then the reason you broke your ankle was because the janitor, bunched up the rug. But then it's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe you can even go farther back than that, and you can say, well, wait, actually the reason I broke my ankle was because I had enough, I was able to fill up my car with gas that day and actually make it to the office. So, if I hadn't filled up my car with gas, I wouldn't have broke my ankle that day because I wouldn't have been able to make it to the office. Okay, well then that's the cause, right, of why you broke your ankle. But then, well, wait a minute, you could go even farther back than that, and you could say, well, the reason I broke my ankle was because my parents decided to conceive me. Or then the reason I broke my ankle was because, of the Big Bang. You could literally take it all the way back to the Big Bang, to the first cause. Philosophers like to use the term first cause as opposed to like, Big Bang, because, we don't know what the first cause is. But whatever the first cause is, you could say that that is the reason. And if you accept a hard determinist line of the nature of reality, that everything has been predetermined, from the moment of the Big Bang or whatever the first cause is, then that is simply what causes how all causation is possible. So when someone says, this X caused Y, we don't really know. We don't really know like that it was actually X. We don't. I mean, it could be something that preceded X, right? All right. Tangent on causation done. You all got your philosophy of causation in for the day. I hope you're all happy with that tangent. Where are we going here? All right. We were talking about mystic worlds of the spirits. We were talking about the guides fucking with us. Emotions have the ability to love and hate. Swiss R is in the house. Hey, okay, I'm gonna botch this. Munabaf. I love the name. I wish I could pronounce it, but thank you so much for the follow. Much appreciated. Yeah, here we talk about philosophy and we do meditation, and I'm super grateful that you're supporting the channel. Swiss R, thank you so much for hosting. Super grateful for that, man. You're definitely check out Swiss R. I already gave you a shout out, but I'm doing it again. All right. And where else are we at now? Swiss, you said, hope you were all doing great. Like Tony the Tiger. I don't know, is everyone familiar with Tony the Tiger out there? Or is that just like an American thing from like the 80s or 90s, right? I don't know. I mean, does everyone know what Tony the Tiger is? And Swiss R, you said, guess what? You were dancing till 4 a.m. yesterday, and then you did the travel streams. Man, you are intense, dude. Swiss R, you are like, I don't understand how do you ever sleep? Like, you got to do a sleeping stream, because I don't believe that you sleep, man. Because like you're always on people's channels, you're always in people's streams, you're always streaming yourself. I don't think you sleep, man. I don't know what your secret is, but you're not sleeping. Then no sleep streaming, sunrise 6 a.m. Yeah. Dude, I can't get away with that anymore, man. There was a time in my life where I was a little bit better about getting away with less sleep, but now, man, like if I don't have like at least like a solid like 4-6 hours of sleep, I'm like, even with 4 hours, I'm a mess. I need like a lot of sleep. I should just like lay down right now. Fuck this stream, dude. I'm out of here. See y'all later. I'm going to sleep. No, I'm just joking. But like yeah, it's like. That's intense. You stream all the time. Then you met a friend. You said stream to 3. Then you met a friend. Yeah. While that's hard. Sunrise Reads, you're saying, wow, that's hard work. I'm sad I missed. And now, yeah, JT Farms, you said that you're saying the same thing that I was saying. When does he sleep? Right? This guy doesn't sleep. Then go dancing now again till 3 a.m. Dude, you got to do a dancing stream. Swiss R, I have never seen you do a dancing stream. You need to have a stream of you out at the club dancing, man, or just at least like dancing in your place or something. That would be a pretty cool stream. Okay, Sunrise, you're saying, ouch, my ankle. Yeah, that's true. Swiss R, you're saying, was my first party Friday since so long time ago. Yeah, right? Because with COVID and everything, it's like we don't get out and we don't party as much. Like we kind of like. We're kind of stuck, we're kind of stuck in more. So like it's, now, I mean, I'm fully vaccinated now, so that feels good. I can kind of go out a little more, but now with like the Delta variant, like who knows what the fuck's going to happen. But no COVID talk in this channel. We don't need to think about that stuff. We don't need to think about that. Let's see, Hyperdumb. You said the real reason you broke your ankle is because you were born. That's what I said earlier, right? That's another cause, right? That could be the cause. Right? We don't know what it means to when we say X caused Y. We just don't even have. It's like the notion misfires from the start. David Hume fucked up the notion of causation. Before Hume, everyone's like, oh yeah, it's easy, causation's no problem. And then David Hume comes along and he's like, well, wait a minute, here's all these fucking problems with causation. And everyone's like, all right, now we don't know what to do, And then philosophers have been wrestling with the notion of causation ever since. Okay, Hyperdome, you say, okay, yeah, the Big Bang works too. Yeah, yeah, we're on the same page, man. I mean, we kind of follow the same trains of thought sometimes, which is kind of scary actually for me because I don't know. Like, if you're thinking along the same lines as me sometimes, dude, I don't know. Like, are you okay? Like, if you need some help, man, let me know. Because or maybe I'm not the person to ask. But that's kind of funny though. All right. Where are we at here? God, I always get so far behind in chat. Tony the Tiger was the one slicing up cheese all the time, right? Let's great. Oh. All right. That's a rough one. That's a rough one, Hyperdumb. I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I can handle that. It's fucking funny though. It's really funny, but it's one of those where it's just so bad it's funny, you know. I guess I can handle it at the end of the day. If someone wants to see this later, how the universe is way bigger than you think, cool. Oh, you got a nice YouTube video. Yeah, let's check that out later. I'm into that. New out of context clip from Hyperdome when we said too many dumb things in Agni's chat. All right, let's play this up. I should just lay down right now. Fuck this stream, dude. I'm out of here. See y'all later. I'm going to sleep. Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of how it goes sometimes. I yeah, was that Tony the Tiger pun too grating? It was perfect, man. It was perfect, and that's why I appreciate you in the stream, man. You always had the good shit going. You know, the good out of context clips. You have the good humor going, and it's great. When are you? I want to put you on the spot though for a change. When are you going to get your streams going, man? Yeah, we got to pressure you into this. You know, Sunrise Reads and I are going to pressure you into this if you don't get going quick. I know you said you needed to come up with a good name, man, but that excuse can't fly. That excuse can't fly forever. Sunrise Reads, get him going, man. You're his number one friend, in the Twitch world. You know, you guys are like, super tight. You know, we gotta pressure him into streaming. Yeah, right. His name's already fine, and you could stream under that name. Hey, Victor Soar, good to see you. Yeah, Victor Soar and I got into this deep philosophical discussion last night. You just missed this long discussion about causation. We were actually talking about David Hume and causation and how the whole world is, and all philosophers are up in arms now ever since Hume. We don't know what the fuck it means when someone says X causes Y, right? Because, I mean, there could be infinite amount of causes, that are actually cause Y. You can keep going back further in time, at the end of the day, you could just say, Big Bang, right? You could say the Big Bang caused it, or philosophers like to say whatever the first cause is, right? Whatever that first cause was. And that kind of then they can escape, the Big Bang notion in case that's not actually the first cause. But yeah, causation is in a mess. Philosophers don't know what the fuck to do now with the notion of what it means for one thing to cause another. And if it actually misfires from the start, or if there actually is a situation such that something, an X can cause a Y. Let's see. Causation is one of your favorite parts of philosophy. Awesome, Victor Soar. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. One principle you've dabbled in is causal inheritance. Yeah, cool, right? It's such a wide spectrum of information, right? Involved in causation, right? And there's so many different things. Like who was it? Was it a Jaegwon Kim, I think? He dealt a lot with causation and causal chains, right? And what it really means for something to cause another. If I recall, I can't recall the details of what he said, but I remember that he went big into it. But I just know that Hume basically kind of fucked up the whole notion and made it very different for all of us. Sunrise Reads, you say, wow, you need to immerse in philosophy more. Did you study this, Agni? Yeah, I did actually. I mean, this was what I went to grad school for. This is what I got my master's degree in, was analytic philosophy. So yeah, this is my bread and butter. It's been a while. I've been out of grad school for a few years, but I still read philosophy. You know, it's like once a philosopher, always a philosopher. Victor Sora and I were talking about this. You know, like it's like once you get immersed in philosophy and really start to develop that craving and that love for it and that passion, you never give it up. I mean, some people, you know, you can go off into the corporate world and distract yourself, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have those deep questions about the fundamental nature of reality, right? Because that you're going to want to know about truth, right? And I'm not talking about, you know, people's own personal truth. That's like a concept that, you know, people throw around all the day, you know, all the time nowadays. You know, oh, but my truth tells me this, and it's like, okay, your truth, whatever. That's just that's don't use the word truth. That's just your subjective perception of things, right? When analytic philosophers talk about truth, we're talking about capital T truth. We're talking about objective truth. We're talking about truth that would exist if you did not, right? If humanity did not exist, right? We want that fundamental truth, right? So like yeah, you know, that's just something to bring up, I guess. Victor, sorry, you say yes. Kim explored causal inheritance quite a bit. I've read some of his work. Yeah, Kim is the man, right? He knows his shit. He knows his shit. I wish I remembered more of his arguments. I think he was a hard determinist, right? And he was a strict determinist from what I recall, and I think he was going against some of the compatibilist approaches causation and to the mind body problem and stuff like that. Yeah, it's funny too because like I mean I used to know him really well, like the back of my hand. But you know, they say if you don't use it, you lose it, right? But it's like, what if you have like 1,000 different interests that you're like super passionate about? You know, how the fuck do you use all those all the time, right? You know, then you can't, right? So then some of them are going to go away, and then 10 years from now you're going to be like, I used to know about this shit. Why don't I remember this anymore, right? It's like we need Elon Musk to get that neural link installed in our fucking minds so we can remember everything that's ever happened to us. Or maybe that wouldn't be a good thing, right? If we remembered everything that ever happened to us, like what if then we'd remember all the trauma like really distinctly? I mean, I could see that being a curse actually, as well. All right. Sunrise Reads, you say you have to lurk today, but it's been really nice chatting to you and everyone as always. Well, thank you so much, Sunrise Reads, for lurking. Definitely a pleasure having you here. And yeah, check out more philosophy if you ever get a chance. Then let's see, where are we at here? Oh yeah, Sunrise Reads, you were getting him. You were trying to pressure Hyperdome into doing a stream. I've noticed he goes quiet. It's funny. The only time Sunrise Hyperdome goes quiet is when we try to pressure him to do the streams. Yeah, he doesn't like to push back on that one. All right, we got a lot of people saying hi to each other. Causal inheritance, yes. Yeguan Kim. Victor, sir, you said you had the freedom in undergrad to explore concepts quite broadly, so now you've taken broad ideas and seek to focus on particulars of the brain as a psych grad student. Yeah, there you go. Now you can take your, like, whatever you find the salient notions are, right, in philosophy of mind or in psychology, and you can hone in on them. That's the cool thing about grad school, because it's like you have this like broad concept, but it's like there's this like one part of it that you can now delve into like super deep, right? And you can like explore it, and you can read every single article that's been written about it, right? And you can you check out all the literature, you can weed through all the objections, and you can draw some cool conclusions, and then you can come up with your own ideas and postulate your own theories and whatnot, right? That's the cool thing about it, right? You feel like philosophy is much like riding a bike, never fully leaves you. Yeah, it doesn't, right? Once you're into it, and I'm not talking about a superficial level of philosophy. Like there's some people that will like take a philosophy 101 class just as a prereq because they need it, and they'll just do whatever's necessary for the tests, and then they'll fucking graduate from the class, and then that's it. Not graduate from the class, but they'll pass the class, they'll get a C, and that's it. They don't care, right? But there's a lot of people that like really get into philosophy, because it's the pursuit of truth. Who wouldn't want to know the truth, right? Who wouldn't want to know what the fundamental nature of reality is? Who wouldn't want to know what the human condition is, and what it means to exist in this dualistic framework, right? Who wouldn't want to know the answers to these questions? I mean, I sure as hell do. I want to know these things, and I want to devote myself to it. And the thing is, now one objection is that I hear from a lot of people, oh, but you're never going to find the answers to those things, so why even try? Why even bother? It's better just to go out and make as much money as possible. Fuck those people. Here's here's why. Okay, I have a cogent argument to tell you why it's okay to say fuck those people. Because they're living a goddamn lie, and there is intrinsic value. There's inherent value in actually studying and pursuing truth. Just by engaging in that act, just by pursuing truth, just by pursuing that what it means to be a human being in existence, and existing in this state, and experiencing life in this state has value. It has meaning in itself. And that's what the cool thing about philosophy is. Yes, is it frustrating? Yeah. I mean, in our life, are we ever going to come to some, a major answers through philosophical discourse that, give us a complete understanding of the picture of reality, of the nature of reality? I don't know. I mean, probably not, or at least not in the foreseeable future. But you know what? There's value in the search. There's value in the attempt. That's why philosophy is valuable. All right. Sunrise reads, you say you feel like in each discipline it would have different understanding of concept causality. Yeah, right. Absolutely, right. And every discipline, the other cool thing is thinks about things differently, right? Like if you talk to sociologists, if you talk to evolutionary biologists, if you talk to chemists, if you talk to physicists, they're all going to explain any given phenomenon through whatever lens they perceive the world through, right? So it's pretty cool to think about that. So if you bring up causation with a physicist, they're going to give you one answer. If you bring up causation with someone who's going to give you a diachronic explanation, like an evolutionary biologist, then they're going to give you a different answer, right? So it's like however your lens is focused, right? That's how you're going to see things. Earlier in the stream, my lens was out of focus, so like I was seeing things through a very, very different perspective. I don't know if that what the hell that means, but Sunrise reads. Wait a second, how did this even happen? Sunrise Reads has delved deep into the source of creation and is experiencing lurking bliss. I was like, how is my lurking comment coming up for my name? Like, it threw me off guard. People don't lurk here very often. I guess people like to be more engaged. I guess so. I guess that kind of caught me off guard. Hyperdom, you said you flow like water on the outside, but you're an immovable stone on the inside. Ooh, all right. All right, I like that. So in your external world, in the external hyperdom, you're just going to go with the flow, right? You're going to go with the flow. But whatever your core values are, your convictions about life and about existence, that's what you're going to hold on to. You're going to hold on to that. Cool, man. I do the same thing. It's like unless I can find a reason otherwise. I've had to go through and I've had to scrap my foundational beliefs at times in my life when they're not serving me. I kind of look at foundational beliefs as like scaffolding, because they simply help you build up a structure of thought, right? Because you accept a few certain given premises, right? And then you can build up this structure of thought from those premises. And then you have your belief set, right? You have this system of thinking, right? But then you come to learn some things, and then it's like, wait a minute, some of these foundational beliefs that I hold, I'm not justified in holding, right? And so then you got to do the work of going down deep within to your foundation, to your core, and scrapping those beliefs, right? And then when you knock those out, it's like it creates a chain reaction, right? It's like you're wiping out your like a toothpick foundation, and then the whole structure crumbles, and you have to then develop new beliefs, and you come up with new core beliefs, right? And hopefully the idea is that you progressively get stronger and better and beliefs that are more accurate and more true to reality than what you previously held, right? Like when you're 5 and you believe in Santa Claus, I mean, that's going to be that's like a belief that's pretty strong in your mind, right? But then like your parents like tell you there's no Santa Claus, and you're like, what the fuck? Everyone just deceived me. Everyone's a bunch of liars, right? All right. Where else are we at here? Sunrise reads, you say, or hard protective shell on the outside, watery emotions on the inside. Yeah, right. I mean, you never know. You never know what's going on the inside. Victor, so you say, of course, one of the ideas that causation touches on is idealism versus materialism, and this leads to notions concerning causal inheritance and the theory of emergence. Yeah, which also contrasts with idealism and dualism. Yeah, I never really bought into the idea of emergence. That's something that kind of like I found the arguments not compelling when I was studying emergence. It just seems so bizarre. Okay, it seems bizarre to me to think that you can have these emergent properties, right, that are arising that are greater than the constituent parts. It just seems fucking off. It doesn't seem right, man. And I've researched it. There's some decent arguments out there. Some of the arguments put forth out there that I find like at least like somewhat compelling are those by Hasker and Lowe, and they're arguing for like the new dualism and emergent properties, right? And they have some good arguments, right? They broke down that Cartesian, they advanced the Cartesian dualism at least, because Cartesian dualism was a mess. And oh, by the way, something kind of interesting about Descartes that a lot of people don't know. Descartes believed that animals like dogs and cats were simply like automata, like robots. Like he didn't believe they had any kind of like soul or any kind of life force, and that's like he believed they were kind of like machines. I know this is just like a weird side note, but it's kind of funny to think about. Like I don't know why I find it so funny, but it just is. All right, a new Victor. Sorry, you say thanks, man. You feel like philosophy runs deep within everyone, whether they admit it or not. Yeah, but you know what? You're right. I agree with you. Absolutely. I think a lot of people like to distract themselves, though, from it, right? That's actually something that people do. It's a strategy. It's right. People start having philosophical questions and issues that arise in their life. What do? They go off and they buy a new car, or they try to make more money, or they try to distract themselves at work, or they get in and out of a million relationships or whatnot, right? They try to distract themselves with worldly affairs. And they don't go internally and they don't do the work to actually work through those philosophical problems. So that's definitely a really good point. All right, we got a new out of context clip from Hyperdome. Let's check it out. How Agni wants you to live your best life. Let's hear it.
Why even try? Why even bother? It's better just to go out and make as much money as possible.
Yeah, right. I mean but if you think about it, that's just what think about what marketing is, right? Think about what the whole Western notion of materialism is, right? It's like let's have all these overbearing advertisers convince you that in order to be happy, in order to feel your personal best, in order to feel the love and peace and joy, the boundless love and joy within you, what you need is their product, right? So they convince you by making these flashy commercials and gimmicky slogans and things like that, right? And then you're like, oh, in order for me to feel good, I need to get product X. And then you acquire product X, and you're like, you feel good for I don't know, like a day maybe, right? You get that new car and you're like, maybe you feel good for a couple weeks or a couple months. So it's like I got this beautiful new Lamborghini, blah blah blah, and then you see your neighbor who has like a better Lamborghini, and then you're like, oh, this Lamborghini is not giving me as much joy anymore. Like now I'm my overall level of happiness has dropped down to like the base level where it was before. And now what am I going to do? And then some other marketer convinces you that, oh, you need this product to be happy. Another big move that the advertisers and marketers like to do is they like to say, oh, you know what? Do you have this problem? Here, let's invent a problem for you, right? Now you have this problem, and this right here, this X is the source of all your unhappiness. But guess what? We have a solution. Here is the solution to that problem. And if you pay us money, you can buy this. You can buy our product that will fix whatever the quote unquote real problem was, right? But it was never a problem to begin with most of the time, right? It was like something stupid, It's like, do you care what people think of this thing about you? It's like, fuck that, dude. So it's like yeah, Western culture has gotten so crazy with the external search for happiness because overbearing marketers like to push this shit on us. All right, that was a lot. That was a lot. All right. Where are we at here? Adam Yogi's here. Adam Yogi is here. Hello, Adam Yogi. I hope you are doing well tonight. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge you tonight. I got behind on the chat. But yeah, it's good to see you here. You keep coming back to the allegory of the cave is truth. Yeah, Plato's allegory of the cave. That definitely has so much truth in it. It's true now. It's more true now than it's ever been. I think. We've talked about that on the stream before, and it's really something that that everyone should check out. Like it's a very accessible. Why I like it is that it's very accessible to anyone. Anyone who reads it is going to understand what's going on. So check out Plato's Allegory of the Cave. I'm not going to rehash it now because we're behind on the chat and because we've already discussed it on the stream quite a few times. But good point. That's a very good point. All right, Victor Soar, you say, oh, I know that the two schools of thought regarding epistemology and foundationalism are coherence. I believe that there is merit in both approaches. Have you dabbled in the distinction between these schools of thought? Something obscure I looked into while exploring stuff of my own. So you're talking about the two schools of thought regarding epistemology and foundationalism and coherence. No, I have not. I actually have not explored those at all. I do not know the I think you're referring to the coherence theory of truth, right? I basically I took just the most brief. I have like the most superficial understanding of epistemology. So I have not actually done that because so the way it worked is when I was in grad school, they lumped epistemology and philosophy of mind together, and you needed to take a certain amount of credits for epistemology and philosophy of mind. And I'm all in on philosophy of mind. I was like so into that, that's like where I was like really shining, and that's what I was really loving. So yeah, all epistemology is just basically like the stuff that I've dabbled in on my own, and it's not very deep at all. You probably know more than me about definitely the coherence theory of truth and all that stuff. So sorry, you say my stream number today, number 3 today was from a large church from 1630. A church from 1633. Whoa. Wait, stream number, first of all, you streamed 3 times today? Dude, that is badass, man. I give you props for that, dude. Awesome. And you're like, I don't know when you're sleeping, man. You're getting like an hour here or there, but dude, that's pretty badass, man. And a large church from 1633. We don't even have like I live in Chicago. We don't even have anything like that from 1633 where I live. I mean, I don't even know anything about this country. Like, do we even have buildings from 1633 that are still around? Hyperdom, help me out on this. Do we even like what's the oldest buildings like that are even still around in America these days? Like, I have no idea. Hey, Imbalance is back, man. Good to see you. Good to see you, Imbalance. Victor Sir, you say, yes, one of my favorite articles on emergence did a great job defining it. Causes possess causal powers not had by their causes. I don't fully buy into it either, but I do believe that the theory raises very interesting distinction on deeper subjects. Yeah, it's just, okay, philosophers a lot of times they'll say, you know what, it goes against my intuition, right? I don't have that intuition. And for me, like the notion of emergence, man, I'm going to deny that right off the bat. As soon as someone's like, all right, premise 1, premise 2, and they're stating their premises, and they're like they're throwing emergence out there. It's like, give me some proof of emergence. Like it just doesn't seem the case that that there can be these extra properties that exist in the world that are actually that are not that don't arise from the constituent parts, right? Like how could there be these other properties that arise? And I've seen the arguments, but they're just not compelling. They're not compelling at all. Sunrise reads, you're familiar with ontology and epistemology, foundationalism and anti-foundationalism. Nice. So you have, all right, cool. You have delved into philosophy. Good for you. I didn't know that you had delved into that you had that philosophical background. Well, I'm glad that you checked out some of that stuff. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, exploring that stuff, right? Going into philosophy and really, pursuing truth. like epistemology is such a wonderful wonderful subject to study. I mean, it's one of the five main branches of philosophy. I wish I had delved into it deeper in grad school, but like I said, I was all in on philosophy of mind. That's what I did all my research on. That's the subject I did my comprehensive examination on. I studied for the comps. So it was all philosophy of mind. I did not go deep into epistemology at all. In fact, I went further into philosophy of language than epistemology, which is crazy because like I find epistemology like way more interesting. But you know what? You're inspiring me now, man. Maybe I need to like really like dig out, go into some epistemology because like that's something that I would love to learn more about. And you know what? Like I said earlier, philosophy has inherent value just in it, just by doing it, just by being a philosopher. And anyone can be a philosopher. Anyone can do philosophy. That's a really cool thing about it. In fact, a lot of people used to believe that was not the case. And this is something kind of cool. There was an Oxford philosopher by the name of Brian McGee. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Victor Soar, or anyone else in the chat. Brian McGee was an Oxford philosopher from the maybe mid 1900s, early 1900s. I want to say, like, if I could guess, I'd say like 1950s-ish, right? And what he did is he believed that he could bring philosophy to the general public. All right, so he actually had a television in England. He had a television station. He worked for a television station and he had like a talk show where he would bring on philosophers and he would talk with them and they would discuss these like deep philosophical concepts. And the show got great reviews and people were watching it. Like you would not believe all these Brits that tuned in for this. It was a crazy. It was like it's like you could tune in for like reruns of Benny Hill, or you could tune in for like a chat with like Brian McGee and Karl Popper. It was fucking madness, right? You had like the most in-depth like philosophical concepts being discussed like on public television. It was wonderful. It was such a beautiful thing, right? So he showed, and then it got everyone talking about philosophy and thinking about philosophy. And so then the general public all of a sudden had this exposure to philosophy, and it kind of like reinvigorated like the spirit of philosophy. Brian McGee talks about it a lot in his book Confessions of a Philosopher. It's a really good book. He talks a lot about Karl Popper and his genius, and he talks a lot about I can never pronounce the name, Pierce, however the hell you pronounce Pierce's name. And he was an underrated philosopher. His work will be more appreciated, is already becoming more appreciated. But he was so underappreciated. It's so funny, Pierce's work, that they were literally taking his manuscripts and they were throwing them into the goddamn oven to stay warm after he died. Like, dude, this guy was writing some brilliant work, like his whole fucking life's work. They're like taking like his manuscripts and they're like, oh, this guy was such an abrasive asshole that we're just gonna throw his manuscripts that he spent like years and years thinking about and writing like into the fire so we can stay a little warmer. And I think he was like at Harvard or something. And it's like, holy shit, dude, like imagine all that wisdom and knowledge that was lost right there, because some Harvard jerk offs didn't like the guy, basically. All right, that we're getting way off topic now. But is there ever a topic, right? Is there ever a topic? I don't know. Let's see, where are we at here? Oh my God, from political theory class. Oh, epistemology equals theory of knowledge. Yeah, ontology equals study nature of truth. Yeah, and ontology is kind of like metaphysics. They're not synonymous, but they're similar. Sometimes it's a beautiful, beautiful topic. The reproduction of knowledge. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Hyperdumb, you say? I mean, there's some indigenous mounds. Haha. All right, I definitely got that out of context. I don't know what you're referring to, but it's like, even if the thing with you, Hyperdumb, even when like I catch something out of context, it still is funny and it still fucking makes me laugh. I don't know why. And I've been dropping, by the way, I've been like keeping very close, I've been paying very meticulous attention to the amount of F-bombs I've been dropping tonight. And I have been dropping like 79.637% more F-bombs tonight during this stream than I typically do in an average stream. I don't know why that is, but I don't know the cause. But that's just the case. Actually, and to be honest, going back to what we were talking about earlier, with no one knowing anything about causation, no one knows the cause, right? So what is the cause of me dropping f bombs? Who fucking knows? All right, we got to move on. We got to move on. Victor, so you say it's actually not terribly difficult. Coherence is slightly different from foundationalism in that truth can be derived by how notions support each other as opposed to relying on a set of principles per se. Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right, yeah, I just never really checked it out. I didn't know much about it. Imbalanced, what's up, brother? Good to see you here again. Hyperdome, you're saying, oh, in California we have some Spanish missions that are about that old, but yeah, a few and far between. Yeah, right. There's not much. I mean, what is around from 1633? Holy shit! America's like we're the baby of all the countries out there. Not all of them, but most of them. I mean, we don't know shit in America, right? We don't know about history. We don't know about anything. It's like I barely know what happened yesterday, let alone like what happened, in 1633. I mean, I think weren't we burning witches or something back then? But then again, I come from Chicago, and those of you who don't know, we had something called the Great Chicago Fire, like 100 or 150 years ago, and basically the whole fucking city, most of Chicago, just burnt to the goddamn ground. My name is Agni James. Agni, that's in relation to the king of the fire gods. So the Agni part of me likes the notion of everything burning to the ground, but the whole pretty Chicago just fucking burnt down. So we just had to start from scratch. And then they're like, oh, guess what? Maybe we shouldn't build buildings so close together. Maybe we should have like a little bit of space. Maybe we should have like fire escapes and build with materials that aren't as flammable and fire codes and things like that. And it's like people are like, yeah, that I mean, everything burnt down. Maybe that would be a good idea, right? Duh. It's like fire is kind of a major issue. I mean, look at the West Coast right now. Like the whole West Coast is fucking burning down. Like, I mean, look what's going on. You would think about it, all these years of human evolution, and we still don't know how to fucking handle fire, right? We still don't know how to harness it. We don't know how to deal with fire. We know how to harness it, but we don't know how to deal with it, right? It's like when you got like a forest burning down, like half the time it's just like, well, hopefully it will rain soon. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with us? We can put people on the moon. We can fucking put people on the moon. We can do Neuralink. We can have chimpanzees playing Pong using just their minds, but we can't fucking stop a goddamn forest fire. That shit blows my goddamn mind. Like, what is the case here? How are we that inept? How are we that inept that we cannot stop these fires, or at least, and same thing with predicting the weather. I get it, there's so many variables involved and whatnot, but like, we still should be able to be better than we're at. Like, I'm sick and tired of these weather forecasters, just throwing up bullshit. They live off of bullshit. I actually was talking. This is a little side note. I was talking to a cop not too long ago, and he said law enforcement. He was a Chicago cop, so he said law enforcement. All you need to be good at law enforcement is to be a good bullshitter. If you're a good bullshitter, you're good at law enforcement. And I was like, dude, that's an intense stance to take. But this was a cop telling me that, so I don't know. All right, we are so far behind. Hybrid, you say, is there a term for it if you believe there's an absolute truth, but we tiny little human beings aren't equipped to know that truth? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you would just say, like, you could do like a cognitive closure argument. You could say like well, that's more of the mind body problem. That's more of like the mind body problem. But yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people will say that we just don't have the capacity to be able to know that truth because we're in these finite shells, right? We're in these bodies, right? We don't have that capacity to actually experience it. Victor Story, you say, oh, and I don't know anything about McGee. Interesting. I would have definitely watched it. So Popper, I'm a fan of. Dude, Karl Popper was such a badass, and here's my favorite thing about Popper, right? So when typically if you're going to get into a philosophical debate with someone, you're not trying to bolster their argument. You're not trying to beef up their argument. But what Karl Popper would do when he would engage in philosophical debate is that he would take whatever argument his opponent was giving them and he would say, hey, wait a minute, that's not the strongest version of that argument. Let's make it better. And then he would improve upon their argument, and he'd work with them and be like, all right, so when you say X, how about we say X and Y, right? And then your argument will be even stronger. And they'd be like, yeah, you're right, that's a better version. And then they'd say, and he'd be like, and this other part doesn't quite work because of this objection. Let's make it stronger in this way, and then it can overcome that objection. And his opponent would be like, that's a wonderful, right? So he would bolster their argument to the max, right? Such that it was like a incredibly strong, argument, and it looked like they had this really tenable position that they could hold their ground in, right? And then once the argument was brought up to the strongest it could possibly be, then Popper would destroy and dismantle the entire argument. Like, what a badass! He had no fear in philosophical debate. He would make his opponent's argument stronger than they would actually originally have it, and then he would knock it down. I mean, dude, that's a confident dude right there. All right. Let's see. Sunrise, you were saying foundationalism believes in non-visible mechanisms, allowing theories, that is, constructivism, feminism, post-structuralism, and critical theories. There's also a midway between foundationalism and anti-foundationalism called critical realism, I think. Political theorist philosophy goes real deeper than all that, though. Yeah, and you know what? You're talking about more stuff from the excuse me, from the continental school of philosophy. So that there's a big divide in philosophy in America and in England. We do analytic philosophy, and we don't really get into like post structuralism and stuff like that, and as much, right? But in Europe, in like the mainland, they do continental philosophy, and in a lot of places in the rest of the world. So like I'm pretty ignorant about continental philosophy because I'm trained in analytic philosophy. I'm used to like looking at premises, right, and then checking out the inferences and looking for and just making sure the validity is all good and is on point, right, and then seeing if the conclusions follow from the original premises, right. That's like my training, right. You say it's a bit more complicated to explain. I guess not really possible to type in a few words. I know, right? And that's the thing. In the chat, you guys and girls are at a disadvantage, right? Because you're like having to type up things like real quick, and sometimes it's like you need. There's a lot more to say. There's a lot more that can be said. You can if you believe enough. Yeah. Maybe critical of realism. You need to check your notes. All right. Let's move on a little bit. Hybridom, you say, since we're talking about causality, here's a song about the struggle to understand causality. Well, let's get to that later. I'm so far behind. It's just kidding. It's just about a dude trying to figure out why his girlfriend broke up with him. Yeah, right? Okay, I mean, and that's how it is, Like, we're always looking for reasons, right? Reasons why things happen. I took a philosophy of action class, and this was actually one of my favorite classes. It was really cool, right? I had never taken philosophy of action, and that has to deal with like agency, and we discussed things like free will and all that stuff. And in philosophy of action, let's see. Hold on a second. There was this other idea that I was thinking about. Oh yeah, in philosophy of action, like we were saying, we're talking about desires, belief desire pairs, and like desire, like, so like let's say you see an ice cream truck coming down the street, and someone might be like, and you have a craving for that ice cream, you desire that ice cream cone, right? If someone asks you, well, why did you, and so you go up, and give the guy some money, you give the ice cream man money, and then he gives you the ice cream cone, right? And then someone comes up to you and they're like, well, why did you buy that ice cream cone, and you're like, because I desired it, because I had a craving for it. And they're like, okay, right? The typical person's not going to press you on that. But they look at that as like the reason, right? As like the cause, of why you desired or why you wanted that ice cream cone. So the notion is that there's a belief desire pair, right? Same thing like let's say there's a beer. Let's say you have the knowledge that there's a beer in your fridge, right? And you have a desire for that beer. So that is those two things, the belief that there's a beer in your fridge and the desire for that beer, are what cause you to go and get the beer from the fridge and drink it, right? That's like the traditional view. I find that view a little bit problematic. But my main thing though is that I think there's a lot of reasons. Like going back to the ice cream man example, I think like a lot of times we think we know the reason why we have a given desire. Like we're taking this down to a little more fundamental level, right? We think we know the reason why we have that desire, but we don't, right? Like the reason I want that ice cream from that ice cream truck might have nothing to it might not just be because I wanted something cold, right? Because I could say that I wanted something cold, on a hot sunny day, right? But it could have been because I had a toy that was like shaped like an ice cream cone, like when I was like 3 years old, and that toy brought me happiness. So I made the association of anything that was shaped in a cone shape with happiness, right? And so that could be one reason. Another reason could be because it was hot outside and I wanted something cold. Another reason could be because I just was calcium deficient, and I wanted some more calcium in my body. So my body was craving that calcium, right? And there could be an infinite, not infinite, almost infinite amount of reasons why we actually have a given desire for something, right? And why we act on that desire. So I wrote a paper called the reasons-based approach to this, right, and to understanding these kind of concepts. And I turned it in. I was really excited about it. I was really pumped up about it. And my professor read it and gave me an A. And then it turned out, though, that a couple years earlier, a famous philosopher named Scanlon actually basically had the same idea. So he beat me to the punch. And that was actually one of the most interesting things about philosophy. You'd go into philosophy class, as like an undergrad, and you're like, hey, I got all these awesome ideas, and then the professors are like, nope, nope, nope. These ideas were all addressed in by Plato, right, or Aristotle, right? And then you go to grad school for philosophy, and you're like, I have all these ideas now, they're further developed, and then your graduate professors are like, nope, nope, nope. These ideas were already brought up, and you just keep searching for that original idea. And typically what you have to do is you have to look at someone else's argument, whatever argument that they're putting forth, and try to find a tiny little segment of that argument that is not that is inconsistent, or that is not very compelling, and then you can argue against that. And that's kind of like how you can get papers written and whatnot. But it's rare for someone to come up with a totally new idea. I thought I had this brilliant idea. It was the reasons-based approach to understanding agency and why we act the way we do. But Scanlon came up with the idea a few years prior to that. So all right, where are we at here? Now we're talking about anti-foundationalism, pythologic. I think we are. All right, I'm not super far behind in the chat, so we can deal with some of this. Victor, so you say, okay, so anti-foundationalism still tends to function with formal logic, although many modern philosophers tend to ignore formal logic by anecdotal experience. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the experience thing is weird, man. It really is, Victor. So people. I mean, how much credit can you give your own internal experiences, right? How much weight does that hold when you're in the midst of a philosophical debate, right? Because people can be like, well, that's just your experience, right? Why do you believe that? Because your intuition's telling you that, right? I mean, we do use those terms, right? We talk about our intuitions and things like that, and that why we find things, certain arguments more cogent and others less cogent. But at the end of the day, it's I mean, I think we should. I think we do need to really value our own experiences more. And yeah, many modern philosophers do tend to ignore formal logic by anecdotal experience. Yeah, that's a valid point. Sunrise reads, you say, not sure where logic would go. Is there a realist lens? Could be under behavioralism. Anti-foundationalism has both empiricist and non-empiricist methods as valid. They use both one or the other to reach results depending on the theory. Okay, all right, yeah, fair enough. Anti-foundationalism sees both empiricist and non-empiricist. Yeah, that kind of gets me thinking a little bit about the problem of induction, but we don't want to get too far off course. All right, Victor, sorry, you say, for example, if I am not mistaken, continentalism tends to ignore analytic philosophy. Yeah. Continental philosophy embraces contradiction. That's the key, right? That's the main difference. If you're going to just take one thing home from this whole philosophical discussion, just remember the analytic school is very much about looking for soundness in arguments and validity, right? We want to look through and make sure that if the premises are true, that the conclusion it follows the conclusion must be true, right? And so we look through the chain of reasoning, and it's like, oh, this is deductive reasoning going through all the way through the argument, and all the inferences are right on point, and so therefore the true conclusions, true premises, true conclusions, right? Now, continental philosophers are like, wait a minute, no, we're cool. We're cool with there being contradictions in in the logic, right? And it's like it drives analytic philosophers nuts. They're like, no, 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 you can't have contradictions. You can't have X and not X in the same philosophical formal deductive argument, right? You can't have that. That doesn't make any sense. That's gonna blow our minds, right? We don't want this ambiguity here. What the fuck is that? You can't have X and not X. And continental philosophers are like, but hey, check it out. The human condition, the thing that's most fundamental to us, to our nature, is contradictory. Human experience is a contradiction. So it's like you got the analytic philosophers who are like very computerized, like our minds are like computers, and we're like trying to calculate and look for contradictions. And then the second we find a contradiction in an argument, we're like, see, bam, there you go. There's that contradiction. Your argument is invalid. Get it out here. Get it out of my face. I don't want to see that argument around here. Take that place to to the mainland of Europe. Take it over to where they do continental philosophy, because we don't allow for contradictions here. But continental philosophers are like, we'll take that shit right in, man. Bring in that argument. We allow for contradiction. That's part of human nature. Human beings are contradictory beings, and we need to embrace those contradictions. So it's like a crazy battle. Now, for a long time, those schools were like super divided, especially with like back when what's it called? The logical positivists, right? The logical positivists were like really gaining force and momentum in the early 1900s, and they were influenced by the young Wittgenstein, right? The old Wittgenstein had completely changed his philosophy. The young Wittgenstein was basically like one of the founders of the analytic school of logical positivism, right? And they're basically saying like, hey, anything that we cannot prove, is bullshit. So they basically held the view that all of metaphysics, so all this shit that's been worked on since the time since the pre-Socratics, since Parmenides actually came along, prior to Plato, since Parmenides came on, like all the metaphysics and all the work we've done on metaphysics was garbage. That's what the logical positivists held. They wanted to destroy the field. They said it's all nonsense. The reason we can't come to any answers is because the whole field is just nonsense. It's not even the right questions that we're asking. And they wanted to basically carve out all huge swaths of like philosophy, and like get rid of carve up and say this part of philosophy can't be done, this part of philosophy can't be done. Only this narrow segment of philosophy can be done. And they had momentum for a while, but eventually people are like, dude, fuck you, logical positivists. You guys don't know shit, So that's kind of how that went. Let's see, where are we at now? Okay, JT Farms, you redeemed Hydrate. Sunrise Reads, you redeemed Stretch. All right. I got to do this. Got to stretch out a little bit. You're right. I got to drink some water. I'm getting a little hot under the collar. Agni's getting a little hot under the collar right now. Oh, that's good. That is so good. That is so good. There's like when I get hot, man. There's nothing like drinking some water, And I mean, I'll go with the jug. I'm pouring from the jug. I mean, I'll just go straight out of the jug. There was a time in my life where I have slammed entire gallons of water before. I once was feeling so fucking dehydrated. I literally took a goddamn gallon of distilled water and just chugged the entire thing. It was intense. It was intense. I've never peed so much in my life as I did after that. It was like crazy. It was like I just went to the bathroom. I took a piss, and then like I walk out and I'd be like, oh, I got to piss again. I went in the bathroom and I take another piss. All right, we just went from philosophy. We just went from fucking some of the deepest concepts of philosophy to like me talking about drinking a lot of water and urinating. All right, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm leaving. See you all later again. Victor Story, you said you didn't even know about Popper Evolve. Now I'm a bigger fan of it. This is about Popper. Yeah, dude, Victor Story, you will love Karl Popper. He is the man. He is totally the man. check out his work and check out how he just annihilated his philosophical opponents in debates. It's such a cool thing, man, to be able to do that. I mean, I don't do that with when I'm arguing with someone, about a philosophical thing. I mean, I aspire to do that, but usually I'm just trying to like hear what they have to say, and hear their ideas and whatnot, But I mean, but actually, no, I do that sometimes. Now that I think about it, I think Popper was an inspiration for me. Yeah, now when I think when I originally started philosophy, it was more about like winning the argument. It was like the old sophist thing, and that's not real philosophy. That's garbage philosophy. It's better to do. Philosophy is the pursuit of truth. So I would rather be 100% wrong, right, and lose the debate, but learn something, right, than actually, go for rhetoric and try to, like Gorgias, and try to convince the crowd that what I was right, even when I'm wrong, right. Popper would bolster their arguments to the max and then dismantle them. He was that good. All right, Hyperdome, you say, yeah, Agni, ignore the YouTube link. Just a gag joke, you promise. All right, I will ignore it. Where are we at here? Victor Sawyer, you're referring to the process of deriving conclusions deductively from premises. Yeah, deductive logic. Formal logic is mathematical language that can be applied to premises to reach conclusions. Absolutely. Was just curious if non-observable methods would apply to the method of deriving inferences as well. Okay, let me think about that. Non-observable methods would apply to non-observable methods would apply to the method of deriving inferences as well. If I'm understanding you correctly, then you would need to have. I don't think so. I don't think so, right? Okay, like let me give you an example. I mean, but I think we try. I think we. It's kind of like in conditional form, right? It's kind of like we say, if this is the case, right? If these premises are true, then this conclusion must be true. If it's a deductively valid argument, right? It's more along those lines, right? I hope I'm answering your question. That's a really good question. I mean, I did take first order predicate calculus. I did take that logic class. That was actually one of the coolest classes I've ever taken. There's something so beautiful about like a very tightly knit a philosophical argument, where it comes in premise conclusion form. But all right. So Sunrise Reads, you were saying, well, here's the thing. The belief in an absolute truth is foundationalist ontology that believes in strictly empiricist, maybe formal logic. In anti-foundationalism belief, they may also combine subjective ways of deriving knowledge with empiricist methods. Yeah, I mean, so if you are combining the subjective ways of deriving knowledge, I mean, that's a gray area, right? That's kind of sketchy, right? I mean, because it's if you're just like, well, because I experienced this, I had this experience. I mean, how do you? I mean, in psychology, right? I mean, that's what they do, right? That's something that you'll probably be able to talk a lot about, Victor. Sort of like psychology is, very much about the actual subjective experience of the individual. You guys are always giving out surveys, and you want grad students to participate in these surveys and whatnot. Okay, but going on with what Sunrise Reads was saying, but they usually are contesting traditional Western methods of deriving knowledge, scientific ways of inquiry. So, for example, indigenous peoples' ontology, belief of truth, sometimes is based on spirit, connections, etc. And this isn't observable, I think you're going to say. Yeah, I get that. Sorry, we can talk about this afterwards. You studied it 3 years ago. Hyperdome, you say, to be honest, this conversation sounds super interesting to me as well. It's more philosophy theory than I currently know, so woohoo. Well, yeah, this is great. I did not know, Sunrise, that you were into philosophy. How come you've never mentioned this? How come you talk to me more on your streams? You should talk more about philosophy on your streams. I think there's a lot of people that want to hear about it. Okay, Victor Sawyer, you say, oh, okay, this clears things up a bit from my understanding. This means anti-foundational and may apply to logic as well. The two pillars of modern science are empiricism and logic. Yeah, you have like the science. You have science. You have empiricism and you have logic, right? You have basically deduction and induction, right? Deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is like is what I consider the cleanest form of reasoning, right? It's super clean because it's you can follow it, you can drive it. There's the problem of induction, right? Just because the sun has risen every day, for the since the beginning of our whatever, it doesn't mean it's going to rise again tomorrow, right? And the sun's not technically rising, but that's how we refer to it, right? So there's all sorts of philosophical problems related to that. Sunrise, you say no way. Hyperdome, I'd love to share this with you guys. Maybe stream it. Yeah, stream on it later. That would be awesome. JT Farms, all right. Nice spamming those emotes. We're ready. We're getting ready. Sunrise, you say interesting. Yes, there's a gray line between the methods used and lots of subcategories. I recommend you a book called Political Theory. We'll try to find an author. I definitely recommend reading more about it. I'm sure my explanation is 100%. 100%. All right, new out of context clip. Let's check out the new out of context clip from Hyperdome. Bam, here we go.
I've never peed so much in my life as I did after that. It was like I've never.
Right? Yeah, that is good. That is good. All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right, okay. Well, I think I've been coming out super intense, right? This was another one of these super intense days where like I have a lot of energy. A lot of it probably has to do with the run I went on. I went on another 3 mile run today, and like the way I do it, I don't know if other people do it this way. I mean, the new thing that's currently in style and that people recommend is that like you walk for a while and then you run, and then you walk for a while and then run, and then you like sprint and then like run, and you like mix it up that way. I don't fucking do that at all. What I do is I start out by just walking, and then I do a very, very slow jog. And then I just slowly increase the rate at which I'm moving to the point where like I end up at a full out sprint, at the very end. I just gradually increase, and then I'm giving it my all. I'm doing a full out sprint at the end, and then and that's it. And then I do my 3 miles that way. Like I like the natural progression of just getting gradually faster and faster. It feels good for me. It's like it feels much better than like starting out sprinting and then just like running out of breath or something. Right? Being exhausted. And you might be thinking, Agni, you run out of breath at times, right? Does this guy ever fucking breathe? People have been saying that to me. They've been saying like, take a goddamn breath. Drink some water. And I mean, maybe I need to. Maybe I need to drink some more water. I don't know. All right, Victor Sir, you say, in case it's not obvious, I'm a big fan of analytic philosophy, or at least applying its principles while seeking to remain open-minded, because I believe that, as Popper proposed, knowledge tends to be probabilistic. Yeah, right. And analytic philosophy, it's my bread and butter too. It's funny. It's like it's what I like. I'm a chess player though. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a chess player. I like when things are clear cut. But is human life clear cut? No, it's not, right? And just like they say, I mentioned this yesterday, just like they say, Jean-Luc Picard said to Data in Star Trek, sometimes you make all the right moves and you still lose. That's just life. I mean, we're finite beings. We have a finite amount of knowledge, right? So that's basically what we got. Sunrise, you said I did that a few months ago. Then I vomited at the end of the sprint, but then swam in the ocean, and that was refreshing. You seriously vomited? Oh, that's intense. That's intense. But yeah, going in the ocean probably felt amazing after that, right? That probably felt wonderful, like so cleansing. Like, what is it about being in water that is just like so cleansing? And I'm not talking about bathing in the Ganges, like present day, like where it's just like disgusting. I'm talking about like bathing in the Ganges, like when it was actually like pristine, clear, and beautiful, right? Man, this has been a great stream. You guys are all getting me like super hyped up and ready to like do more philosophy and think about philosophy more. And I need to explore continental philosophy more. I got into Camus and some of the other French existentialists and all that, Sartre and all those for a while, but like I never had that deep dive understanding of it, like something about the contradiction and being okay with the contradiction. It's like how is it okay to have X and not X, simultaneously in your head at the same time? That's just difficult for me, right? Sunrise, you said you vomited, and then later in the day you had a nosebleed, scared to run. Just take it easy then. You got to listen to your body. You got to listen to your body when you do. when you run like that. Victor Sawyer, you say you agree it is a great stream, fun and educational. Absolutely, and thank you. By the way, Victor Sawyer, thank you so much for participating. You know, it's great to have, and Sunrise, you and Sunrise, like, and everyone who's here. You know, it's great to have people here who like are deep thinkers. You know, and then there's a lot of people that hang out in the stream that are deep thinkers, that are super deep thinkers, but don't have the formal educational background. But they still get the concepts. Like J.T. Farms is one of the deepest thinkers I know. Right? She never went to grad school for philosophy or anything like that. But she's on point with her philosophical observations, and a lot of other people. Right? So it's like anyone can do philosophy. And I think the terminology turns off a lot of people, right? Because there's so much terminology to memorize. Hey, Imbalance is hosting my stream. Thank you so much, brother. Great to have you here. Everyone, check out Imbalance Physique's stream whenever you get a chance. Great dude. This is like the second or third shot I've given. We've still been going on to philosophy, but we're transitioning into the meditation now. So we're gonna do this. Okay. So, we've had some great discussion. We've explored philosophy. We've explored life. We've explored the universe. We've explored our subjective states. We've explored many interesting subjects. But now is the time that we retreat from the level of thought and go down deep into the place of oneness within our heart chakra. And in this place of oneness, we come to find our true selves. So, you're going to want to find a nice, comfortable seated position. You can sit in lotus pose on the floor. You can sit cross-legged with your back against the wall. You can sit in a chair. The main thing is to find a seated position that is comfortable for you. And then gently close your eyes while maintaining good posture, and take a few slow breaths on your own. And I have a Buddhist chant that I play that has a chime that goes off every 2 seconds. And you can use that to help regulate your breath count. Take a few more deep breaths and exhales on your own while maintaining good posture. Inhale through your nose, gently raising your belly. And exhale through your mouth, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in through your nose, gently raising your abdomen. Breathe out through your mouth, gently lowering your abdomen. Find a nice, comfortable breath count that works for you, and stay true to that breath count throughout the remainder of this meditation. Inhale, gently raising your belly. And exhale, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in, gently raising your abdomen. Breathe out, gently lowering your abdomen. Stay attentive to your breath count. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. The breath calms the body, and the body calms the mind. Stay focused on your breath. Inhale through your nose, gently raising your belly. And exhale through your mouth, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in, gently raising your belly. Breathe out, gently lowering your belly. Stay focused on your breath count. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Be mindful of your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, release them and return your attention to your breath count. Visualize yourself sitting on a mountaintop, watching the clouds move below you. Two clouds merge into one, and one cloud divides into two. You watch as the clouds move through the sky and disappear over the horizon. Those clouds are like your thoughts. Thoughts come into being, exist for a while, and then disappear from your consciousness. That is the nature of human thought. In meditation, we learn to travel beneath the level of thoughts. Into the heart chakra and feel our true essence. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds and watch them as they move through the sky and disappear over the horizon. And return your focus to your breath count. Inhale through your nose, gently raising your belly. Exhale through your mouth, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in through your nose, gently raising your abdomen. Breathe out through your mouth, gently lowering your abdomen. Be mindful of your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds moving through the sky and disappearing over the horizon. And return your attention to your breath. Your essence is love. The manifestation of love is light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. And awaken the inner light within them. And they will shine their light on all whom they encounter. Until the whole world is lit once again. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that is of no benefit. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that obscures your third eye sight. Your essence is love. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Stay focused on your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds, watching as they move through the sky and disappear over the horizon. and return your focus to your breath. On your next inhale, travel deeper beneath the level of consciousness. Travel to the region at your heart chakra. In that location, explore that area and find the love that emanates. That love is your foundational essence. That love is more foundational than all your thoughts. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Your essence is love. The manifestation of love is light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. And awaken the inner light within them. And they will shine their light on all whom they encounter. Until the whole world is lit. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that is of no benefit. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that obscures your third eye sight. On your next inhale, travel deep beneath the level of consciousness to your heart chakra. Feel the love that emanates from that region. Feel the perfect peace that resides there. Feel the perfect oneness with all of creation. And in that state of oneness, remember who you truly are. You are not a sum total of your thoughts. Your nature is perfect love. Allow yourself to feel that perfect love and oneness. Give yourself permission to exist in that sacred space. For you are divine. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that is of no benefit. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that obscures your third eye vision. Stay focused on your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds, watching as they move through the sky and disappear over the horizon. And return your focus to that place of perfect love within your heart chakra and reside there for a while. Feel the warmth surrounding your heart. Feel the pulsating and vibrating energies. Feel the oneness with all of creation that exists there. That place is your eternal home. That place is the source of all creation. And being part of creation, you are one with it. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that is of no benefit. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that does not serve you well. Stay focused on the love within your heart chakra. When you come from a place of love, your encounters with all people are holy. Because you connect with the part of them that is also pure love. You bypass all ego dynamics that exist between you and others. And you realize they have the same essence as you do. Having the same essence, there can be no difference between you. From the context of eternity, you are pure oneness with them. From the perceptual appearance of dualism, we appear to be separate entities. But when space-time collapses and we reunite into monism, we will realize our perfection once again. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all ego that obscures your third eye vision. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that is of no benefit. Your essence is love. The manifestation of love is light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. And awaken the inner light within them. And they will shine their light on all whom they encounter. Until the whole world is glowing radiantly. And this illusory dualistic framework will crumble into the nothingness from which it originated. And we will reunite in monism. Feel the perfect love emanating from your heart chakra. Visualize the light that is it love's manifestation. Search through that love for the center point. The point which is the source of all creation. Once you find that point, step on through. In that center point is your eternal home. In that center point is eternal love. In that center point is eternal oneness. In that center point, you are immutable. In that center point, you are omniscient. In that center point, you are omnipresent. In that center point, you realize your divinity. And you realize the folly of getting caught up in external dualistic affairs. For all thoughts that arise from the ego are there to distract us and keep us away from that center point. For in that center point, we remember our eternal home. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that is of no benefit. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all ego that obscures your third eye sight. Stay focused on your breath. Be mindful of your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, release them, traveling beneath the level of thought into the place of pure oneness. Stay there for a while, taking a break from the external world, realizing who you truly are. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that obscures your third eye vision. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that is of no benefit. Your essence is love. The manifestation of love is light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. And awaken the inner light within them. And they will shine their light on all whom they encounter. Until the whole world glows radiantly once again. Stay focused on your breath count. When thoughts arise in your mind, visualize them as clouds, watching as they move through the sky and disappear over the horizon. Return your focus to the place within of perfect love. Your essence resides there. Take the deepest inhale of the day, filling your belly with love and light, and the deepest exhale of the day, releasing all ego from your being. Gently open your eyes and return to the present moment, bringing with you the peace from this meditation throughout the remainder of your day. Namaste. Thank you all so much for participating in this meditation with me. I am truly grateful to be here with you, sharing the sacred space. I love you all and appreciate you all so much. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for doing the meditation. How was that for everyone? How was the meditation? I hope you found it relaxing. I sure feel a lot more peaceful. I'm a little bit zenned out right now, to be honest. I'm a little bit zenned out. Wonderful. Tara Time, you are such a beautiful soul. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Tara Time is a streamer here on Twitch in the fitness and health community. She makes working out fun. She's an incredible instructor. You go to her stream, you will laugh, you will have such a wonderful time, and you may cry from how hard the workouts are, but you will feel good. You will feel good nonetheless. She makes you work hard, but you'll do so with a smile on your face. Definitely go to Terror Time stream and drop her a follow. Such a wonderful soul, such a wonderful person. All right. Swissar, namaste to you too, brother. Oh, and Terror Time is also the emote queen. I forgot to mention that. She is totally the emote queen. No one will ever be. I know Hyperdumb, you're trying to compete a little bit, you and Sunrise, but no one will ever be able to compete with Terror Time's emote game. She's really high up there. I don't know if anyone. I don't know if it's possible. She's an emote machine. She can spam emotes like no one's business. You know. I mean, one day maybe we'll have a competition or something. Oh, Hyperdumb's trying to compete Terror Time. But the thing is, Hyperdumb, you might be like a sprinter. You might be able to compete in the short term, but in the long run, Terror Time's here for the long haul. So yeah, look at that. She's all around the world. Look at that. And her emotes are like on point too, you know. She's not just throwing random stuff out there. But yeah, thank you all so much. Oh, Sunrise Reads, you're her backup. Wonderful. Oh my God, look at that. Yeah, I don't think these emotes are gonna max out. Well, you know what? What's gonna happen is soon there's gonna be so many emotes on the screen, I'm just gonna disappear. I'm just gonna like stealthily disappear, and like when the emotes fade away, I'll be gone. I'll just be gone, and that will be the last meditation I ever do, and I'll be one with all of totality, and that will be it. And that's how I'll go out on Twitch. I'll just all the atoms that compose my body, everything will just disappear into oneness, and the emotes will be like my camouflage. Sunrise, you're just saying no. All right, fine. I'll stay with you guys. And girls, I'll stay with you all a little bit longer. You know, we got to stick around. There's still work to do, right? We all need to. Ah. That was kind of weird, right? You got to mix things up every now and then. That's how it goes. That's just how it goes some days, you know. Some days you just turn into a cat, and you know, cats are pretty divine, right? They're pretty divine creatures. Victor Story, you say, we are graced by the presence of a true God among men, a cat. Yes, cats don't fuck around, Victor Sore, right? They don't mess around. Wow. So many emotes, so little time. That's kind of how I envision it. All right. Well, I think this is about time to wrap up the stream. Man, this has been going on a long time. 2 hours and 45 minutes. And you all hung in there with me. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. You hung in there with me for philosophical discussion and, in other interesting discussion and the meditation. You guys are all troopers. You're all wonderful people to be able to hang in there with me this whole time. Thank you so much. All right. Well, now comes another. Yeah, be the light. Absolutely, absolutely. And I know I missed a lot of stuff in chat probably earlier. Um, Terra time I saw that there were some people that were, I don't know, saying something or something. I don't know what's going on, but you regulated. That was important. You regulated the situation. All right. All right. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, okay. Let's team no sleep. Swiss art, I don't sleep well. I don't sleep well, so I'm kind of on your team no sleep, right? When I sleep, it's like a weird experience. I've been looking for ways to try to sleep better. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm really impressed with all of you. So thank you all again so much. Truly honored to be here. Namaste. Let's find someone to raid. This is always a good moment because there's so many wonderful people out there, and yeah, okay, cool. Salty. Hey, Salty is streaming. I like Salty. Yeah, thank you, Terror Time. Much appreciated. It really helps to have a mod there. You never know. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep, Swiss. To be honest, I mean I'm much more zen than I was, but I still am probably not going to be able to sleep anytime anytime soon. I'm going to play with the cat a little bit. All right. Well, thank you all again so much. We're going to give Salty a raid. Salty's an awesome fitness and health streamer on Twitch, but he's doing something different today. He's playing something called 80 Days. I don't know what 80 Days is. JT Farms, good night to you as well. Thank you so much, and thank you for sticking out and being here. Sunrise Reads, if you need another mod, I'm happy to help. Well, thank you, Sunrise Reads, and I think I might take you up on that actually. Yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah, because you never know what's gonna happen, right? You never know, when you're gonna get some weirdos in the chat. I mean, sometimes it's funny, right? Sometimes it's interesting, but like, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's distracting. Namaskar, Agni. Well, namaskar to you today, Victor, as well, Victor Sore. Thank you so much for your insights as well. All right, let's raid Seltzy. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and peace be with all of you. Make sure give Seltzy some love. Give Seltzy some love when we show up in his chat.